9-3 today. So, as a reminder, when you were given this type of problem, and I did one example on Friday before we left, it's easiest to actually figure out what R is, and from there move up or down a few places rather than trying to plug everything in. So if I want to find A sub 1, okay, I do need to find R no matter what I'm going to do for this. That's the easiest thing to do. So once again, we're going to set it up as if we were looking for the arithmetic means and finding the R for that reason. So I have 3 halves. That's the third term, fourth term, fifth term, sixth term, and the seventh term is 3 over 32. And once again, you need your calculators for this. This is a very heavy calculator chapter. So to find R, I have 1, 2, 3. I take the fourth root of 3 over 32 divided by 3 over 2, which actually is the fourth root of 1/16. Is that right? Yeah. So you get 1/16, which will be 1/2. That's what your R ends up being on this one. Okay. So now to find A sub 1, what would I normally what I do is I multiply times R, right? Normally that's what I'm doing. But I'm actually looking for something in front of my term. I'm looking for A sub 1, which is here, and I know A sub 3, which is there. To go from left to right, you multiply. So to go in the other direction, from right to left, you divide. So I divide by 1/2. And then I divide that by 1/2, which is dividing by 1/2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2. 3 halves times 2 is 3. 3 times 2 gives me 6. So A sub 1 is 6. Because I'm moving backwards, I'm dividing instead of doing my usual multiplying. Okay? So once again, same concept. I want to find A sub 2. So what I need to do first is I need to find R. So I always like to sketch this out 3/4. That's the fourth term, fifth term, sixth term, seventh term. 1 over 108. That's the eighth term. Now, like I said, I like to sketch it out to make sure I'm doing the right root, because that's important. R is the fourth root of 1 over 108 divided by 3/4. And that one I am doing it. I'm not even attempting to do it. Try to figure that one out in my head. So let's see. And I get 1/3. I get R is 1/3.
What's 1/3?
0.33333. And you want to do fractions because we got fractions.
What do you do 0.3 calculators?
It does. It shouldn't. It doesn't on mine. And I know some of them will, some won't. What I need to go through is on the ones that I have, it should come out as a fraction. The ones that I have here, it should come out as a fraction. Some of them don't.
Do you put the whole thing in there?
I put the whole thing in there. I type it in. So
how did?
So to finish this off, I'm looking for the second term, A sub 2. Here's where the third term is. My fourth term is 3/4. To go from left to right, I multiply times 1/3. To go from right to left, I divide by 1/3, which is the same thing as multiplying by 3. So 3 times that gives me 9/4, right?
Wait,
yeah. Yeah. And this gives me 27 fourths.
How'd you get 9/4?
Because instead of multiplying by 1/3, I'm dividing by 1/3 to move in the other direction. So when you divide by 1/3, it's the same as multiplying by 3. 3 times 3/4, 9/4, 3 times. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do the top two. Do the top two. And you notice that the second one is in decimal form, so decimals are just hunky-dory on this one. Okay, so do the top two examples on the next. Okay. So on the first one, So on the first one, 8 blank blank blank, 8 over 81. So it's once again the fourth root. So 8 over 81 divided by 8, that's 1 over 81. It's the fourth root of 1 over 81, which is 1/3. So I want to find the fourth term. Now, I have two choices. I can either go times 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3, or divide by 1/3 once. I'd rather divide by 1/3 once than multiply by 1/3 3 times. Does that make sense? Either way, you'll get the same answer of 8 over 27. Okay. Now, the second one, if I did my calculations correctly, is not the fourth root, it is the cube root. No, I have not done that yet, so 3 cube root 8.64 divided by 5. And I get 1.2. Okay. Now, so get 1.2, easy enough. I have the first term, I want the second term. How do I get from the first term to the second term? I just multiply times that. 5 times 1.2 should give me 6. So my answer is 6. Now, this works really well for problems like this, because I'm never going to give you that are any too far away from either end of the spectrum. Geometric sequences grow so fast or shrink so fast if you're multiplying by a fraction that they become unwieldy very quickly. Your calculators won't handle much past the 12th or 13th term very well at all. So you're never going to be asked to find the 50th term. I'm not going to give you a sub 1 and a sub 5 and find a sub 40. I'm not going to ask you to do that because a sub 40 is just going to be just a number we don't want to deal with in this class. So it's going to be along these lines on the test. Okay, does that make sense? I'm not going to ask you anything. Now, a sub 40 on an arithmetic sequences, that's not that big a deal. Okay, that's not that big a deal to get way out there on one of those. Okay, so it's a little different. Okay, now we did these, and we did those, and we did not do these. Okay, we know how to do this, right? Find R. We've been finding R. Okay, so this one we know how to do. R is equal to, let's see, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blank, so 1, 2, 3, 4, is the fifth root of negative 64 divided by 2. Okay, so you can do that. We've done this. I'm not going to go waste a lot of time over that. It's negative 2, by the way. It's okay to take an odd root of a negative number. You'll just get a negative answer. Now, this one, on the other hand, this is where things get a little trickier. Okay. Which term in the sequence is negative 1/9? So here's what we're doing. We're using this formula, and we're looking for n. That's what it's asking me. And this is a sub n. We just don't know what n is. So we set up our formula. A sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1 power. So a sub n, negative 1/9, is equal to a sub 1, negative 81. And then we got to figure out what r is. But that's very easy here. I don't have to go through all that root crap for this one, right? To find r in this case, I take this number divided by the one in front. 27r equals 27 divided by negative 81, or negative 1/3. I don't have to go through all the other stuff because I got two numbers right next to each other. Just take the last one divided by the previous one. That gives you your r. And then to finish off the formula, it's the n minus 1 power. Solve for the exponent. Here's what you do. Your first step. Divide both sides by negative 81. That's all I have to do. So, and type in the fraction. And you get 1 over 729. So I get 1 over 729 equals negative 1/3 to the n minus 1 power. Now I have to figure out what power of 3 equals 729. And that's what n minus 1 will equal. There are a couple of ways to do this. One of them is guess and check. Try like 3, and I'm going to give you hints. This is negative, but that's positive. So what power is it going to be? It's going to be an even power. Right? It's got to be an even power. So I could try different things. I'm guessing probably the 6 power is what I'm guessing. So I do 3 to the 6 power, unless, there I go, 729. And I just did guess and check. I know it's going to be large, but I know it's not going to be too big, and I know it's got to be even, because if I take an odd number and bring it to a power and get an even one, it's got to be, you know, get a positive number, a negative number to an even power will give me a positive, so I know it's going to be positive. And I just tried. I tried 6. If it wasn't 6, I'd try a different number, either smaller or larger, depending upon what I got. So this means that 6 equals n minus 1, so n equals 5. There is another way to do this. You're right, 7. Thank you, my bad, 7. I do that often. N equals 7. Thank you very much. I do that a lot. You know, I don't know why. Okay, there is another option. Ignore the negative, because your negatives and stuff will work out in the end. Ignore the negative on the r. And do logarithms. That will give it to you as well. Take the log of both sides and go from there. It's not pretty, but it will work. Okay.
I just found r because I knew 27 was negative 1/3.
Well, you found r, but then to find which term number it is. Now, what did you do?
Continued it out.
Just continue the pattern out? Yeah. And you can do that depending upon how far you have to go. This one isn't too bad, but you had to go how many? 4 more times?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could do that. Did you hear what he said?
No.
So you figured out what r was, which we did here. and then just took negative 1/3 times negative 9 and kept doing that until he got to the number he was looking for. How many times can you do that? That gives you how many times you do it. Okay, and that'll work too. Okay, once again, I'm not worried about the top one. We've done finding R so many times. I think we're okay on that. I do want you to do the second one here. Okay, so once again, set up the formula. 625 is equal to negative 1 over 125 a sub 1 times R. And if you take 125 divided by negative 1 over 125, you get R is negative 5 to the n minus 1. Get rid of the negative 125, multiply both sides by 125. You get 7, 8. 125 is equal to, negative equals negative 5 to the n minus 1 power. So I want to figure out what power of negative 5. Guys, gives me 71825. Well, 625 is like to the 7th power or something like that, and it will be an odd power because it comes up negative. So I'm going to try to like the 9th, negative 5 to the 9th. Nope, that's way too big. So 5 to the 7th. And that's what it is. Guys, stop talking. So this is to the 7th power. And it's guess and check. And you got a calculator. It's really easy to guess and check. It's not like you got to do 5 to the 7th power by hand. So don't complain. Because that's what I had to do. Or look it up on the table in the back of some book. I don't want to hear you complain. I know, when I was old, 7 equals n minus 1, n equals 8, the ocho. Questions? Okay. All right. Write formulas. Recursive formula consists of 2 parts. Part 1, a sub 1. You better get that. A sub n is something times a sub n minus 1. It's R. You got to figure out what R is. How do I get from 3 to 3/2? From 3/2 to 3/4? What am I multiplying by? 1/2. So I'm multiplying by 1/2 each time. Okay. The next one, same thing. A sub 1, negative 3.6. A sub n is whatever R is times a sub n minus 1. Now in this one, I believe it's 0.5 or negative 0.5, I should say. I do want to check. Yep. R is negative 0.5. Negative 0.5 times a sub n minus 1. The last one, my first term, a sub 1, negative 4/9. R in this case is, and here's a nice one, to get from negative 4/3 to negative 4, multiply by 3. Then you can always, just like I said, just divide. Take, R is negative 4/3 divided by negative 4/9. And what you'll get? You'll get 3. You'll get R. A sub n is 3 times a sub n minus 1. Piece of cake. You got to figure out what r is, and it's r times n minus 1. A sub n minus 1. That's it. Do those. This should not take long. First thing, you figure out what r is. R in this case is, how do I get negative 2 over 12, which is negative 1/6. So that's what r is. So a sub 1 is 12. A sub n equals negative 1/6 times a sub n minus 1. The next one, r, 7.5 divided by 5 gives me 1.5. Is that right? Not bad. A sub 1 is 5. A sub n, 1.5 times a sub n minus 1. And then last but not least, the easy one, r is negative 1. So a sub 1 is 3. A sub n is negative a sub n minus 1. If you put a negative 1 there, it's just negative, that's okay, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't mark you down for it. Now, the next one is the explicit formula, which means we take this formula for finding, plug in a sub 1, plug in r. That's it. So I have to, once again, figure out what r is, but we already did these. This is 1/2. So a sub n is a sub 1, or 3, 1/2 to the n minus 1 power. And there's no simplifying that can be done. So I just plug those two numbers in. I can't simplify this formula like I could with the arithmetic one. A sub n, and r was what? Negative 0.5 on this, right? Negative 3.6, 0.5 to the n minus 1. Guys, so this one here, we figured out r was 3. So a sub n is negative 4/9, 3 to the n minus 1 power. That's it. It's just plugging in plugging in a sub 1 and plugging in what r was. We already figured out r for those other ones. Okay, so do those. All right. Let's finish this because, well, we're almost done. You know what r is because we did r on the previous sets of problems for them. So a sub n is a sub 1, or 12. R is negative 1/6 to the n minus 1. Piece of cake. A sub n is 5 times 1.5 to the n minus 1. And on this last one, oh, there we go. A sub n is 3 times negative 1 to the n minus 1 power. And that's it. I do believe. Yes, that's it.